Hey VC, how's it going? Right, we're back in the Vinyl Community Pub. Once again, I'm joined by another fat bearded man talking about records, Headley.
Hello.
But also this week, we're joined by James Griffiths, VC legend, James Griffiths. Welcome, James.
Hey,
Thank you, John.
James. Thanks for
Thank you.
joining us.
That's right, yeah.
Great
Right.
to be here, guys. Yeah, I've watched every episode of this so far. So, yeah, let's hope this is a good one.
Well, yeah. Well, no pressure, no pressure then, So right, so
Yeah.
you know the score, right? So we've all got enough money in our pockets for a round of drinks and a spare pound to put in the Vinyl Community Jukebox. And I'm afraid that you only get two plays for a quid nowadays, inflation and all that. So there you go. So James, do you want the first pick?
Yeah, I'll go first. That's fine. So, I think I deserve kudos because, and you won't believe this, guys, I have bought both the records that I'm going to show tonight. That is how dedicated I am because I didn't
Finally.
actually own them. Now, I did have them on CD and
Oh,
on
slippery slope.
LP, but I thought these are going to be cheap to buy. I'll just buy them. So I bought them and I've been waiting for them to come, thinking, please come in time. And they did. So I can actually show the singles. If they hadn't have come, I was just going to show any random single and pretend that it was the single. I was going to just make
Should have
sure it
done
was the
that.
right label. Okay, so my first one, I'll go with this one. Swap round. So this is a bit of serendipity because this guy has been in the news recently. This is let's see, just get the right way around. This is Andy Fairweather Low,
Right?
who has got a new album out. And I didn't know that when I picked this record. This is one of the first records I thought of when you invited me to come on. He has a new album out, and he's now being touted again as this great kind of legend. Are you two aware of him at all? He's very much a background character. He
Yeah.
spent years, I think he spent the last 23 years playing background guitar for Roger Waters. He's just one of these classic kind of
Yeah.
melt into the background
Right.
guys. But this is a record. This is the B side. I've chosen two B sides tonight. I thought it was important to
Blimey.
go for B sides because I used to love putting B sides on jukeboxes back in the day. It was one of the great luxuries. You could just pick the
Yeah.
B side and inflict something on your friends that they'd never heard before. So the single is called Wide Eyed and Legless. That was the A side, A&M from 1976. But the B side is such an infectious little song. It's called Grease It Up. And it has clavinet on it. That kind of Stevie Wonder clavinet.
Yeah,
Just a
yeah.
really good, funky, low down kind of song. Very basic. It's just, I mean, both my picks tonight essentially are just boozy records. I was trying to
Yes.
think of ways of coming at this. When I was the jukebox horror back in the day. I was the guy you did not want to be in the pub with because I would just put things on to wind people off. I would put Stairway to Heaven on jukeboxes, Wuthering Heights, Baker Street, just everything that you didn't want to hear, I would put on jukeboxes. But I thought I'll play safe tonight. I'll pick a couple of records which are just boozy, good time, fun records,
Yeah.
probably that you put on towards the end of the night when you've had a few drinks. And this is one of my two picks. Stick this on, you'll just be staggering around, completely pissed out your brain, probably, or having a dance, maybe with the loved one of your choice. It's just a great feel-good song. God knows why he disappeared so totally. I think Andy Fairweather Low, I guess. I mean, he was in Amen Corner originally, and they had
Right.
quite a few big hits in the
Right.
60s. He moved into the 70s and just decided to be a background guy. He played with George Harrison. Like I said, he's played with Roger Waters for years. He's played with everybody, but he made a huge comeback on the Jules Holland show a few
Yes.
months ago,
Yeah.
and it ended up trending on whatever, Twitter or something. His appearance on the show, he played this great, I think it was a boogie woogie piece, and it was just
Well, and it
incredible.
wasn't until Jules Holland joined in.
That's
He
right.
did
Yeah.
join. Yeah, he did join in. Yeah, and he's just one of these great sort of British lost figures, really, who never really wanted to be a big star, I guess, or he
Yeah.
never really played that card. I mean, this single comes from this album, which is called La Booga Rooga, which is
Right.
the name of the single. Now, you can find this record in charity shops. In fact, I was just in my local antiques place yesterday, in fact, and there was no records in that place, literally, apart from, Val Dunican and whatever, and this. I
Yeah.
found two copies of it for about £1 each. Just one of those artists, one of those records. They've fallen up off the end of the pier somewhere.
Yeah.
No one gives a damn. However, like I said, he's making a comeback, so maybe we're going to see some sort of revival. It's not on Spotify. It's not on CD. You can't get it. So if you want to hear that, you need to buy that record from your local charity shop or pick up the single like I did. So yeah, it's called Grease It Up, Andy Foe with a Low.
He's making a comeback because he's actually on the Vinyl Community Jukebox for a start, so he must be making a comeback, you know. But,
exactly.
I saw
this launch pad from here.
That's right. Yeah, it's all up from here, isn't it? There's only one way, you know. But,
you wait. You put the clip, it will be blocked.
That'll be the next thing. But I saw that performance on Jules Holland's because he did If Paradise Was Half as Nice on that show, which is a great version as well, you know. But as you say, a great guitarist, but always a bit of a session man, isn't he? You know. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So when's that track from?
I think it was from 74, mid 70s. No, 76. Thing is, I think he's a bit like the British Ry Cooder in a way, in that vocally, you know, he doesn't have a great voice. He's got one of those voices that you have to just go with it, and it's the sort of voice. He was never going to have mainstream appeal, really. I think it was as a guitarist, really, was how he was always going to make his name. But he is just one of those lost figures.
Great stuff.
I'll have to check it out because he's one of those names I have heard so many times, but I don't think I have ever heard any of his stuff. I always assumed he was a bit of new wavy, but is that not the case?
Not at all. No.
Oh, right.
No, quite rootsy.
Oh, that much I know.
Headley, what you got?
Okay, right. I'm going to go with the Auteurs, Lenny Valentino. This is from '93, I think. Luke Haynes is a very interesting, caustic kind of writer. They kind of got lumped in a little bit with the whole Britpop, but a bit like Suede, really. They kind of weren't really. I mean, actually, their first album, New Wave, came out the same year as Suede's first album, and I still think that New Wave should have got the Mercury Music Prize because, clearly you're supposed to win the Mercury Music Prize and then disappear. That's what generally happens, and that's what the Auteurs did. But anyway, so Lenny Valentino, it's a cracking sort of. The first album, it's kind of got sort of acoustic stuff, but this kind of comes crashing in with this sort of great cello kind of strike, a bit like Psycho's hey, it's a bit like that, and it's a bizarre song because it kind of links up the story or the sort of lives of Rudolph Valentino and Lenny Bruce, and it kind of has Lenny Bruce dreaming at his funeral that he is Rudolph Valentino. When you start to listen to it, you go, I'm not sure what's going on there, but it's a great tune. It's I think probably it was their biggest hit. It creeped into the top. No, it didn't. It got to 41, I think. So it was that, but that was their biggest single at the time. I saw them back in the day. They supported and I managed to see them before Matt Johnson shut them off the tour because he just didn't get on with Luke Haynes. But yeah, this is a great tune. I'd love to hear in a pub. Yeah,
no. Luke Haynes actually played. So about 2 or 3 miles from here, there's a venue, the Hare and Hounds. So it's got a capacity of about 200 people, I think. And he did a show. He's been on tour, hasn't he, with Peter Buck out of REM. And just last week they were playing at the Hare and Hounds. I mean, that'd be
they've done 2 or maybe 3 albums. Certainly 2 albums together now.
Oh, have they? Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. He's great. His sort of autobiography about the Britpop era is great to read because he's just so vile about everyone.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
he was Black Box Recorder, wasn't he?
That's right. Yeah, and Bader Meinhof, and
yeah,
he just wasn't set. I mean, this one's a bit of a weird subject matter. I mean, it's only a couple of singles later he did Unsolved Child Murder. I think, catchy song titles. He was one of those people that just clearly just wants to destroy his career even before it started. But yeah, I love that tune. It's a great one. So yeah, that's my first 50p.
The motor kicking down from McDonald. Assassins on the corner tried to throw you a line. Your dirty mouth coming with tofu. And that's a line. Violent TV on the side. Violent TV on the side. Violent TV on the
side. Good choice. So I should ask you, what are you boys drinking there? What have you got on the go?
Not very imaginative. I've just got a Peroni.
Oh.
It's sad but true. I only drink now when doing VC videos. I don't know why. I just don't bother drinking unless I'm talking to people on the screen about music, and then it seems to be the right thing to do. So
I was expecting you to have a glass of whiskey on the go, James.
Why?
Well, I'm sure.
Do I strike?
No, I'm sure that we had a call. I don't know when it was, but I'm sure you had a glass of whiskey on the go. I must be dreaming it. I don't know.
I don't know. He strikes me as a sherry man.
A sherry.
What about you, Headley? What you got?
I'm just doing my usual low alcohol beer, but I am doing it in a Motorhead glass, which I'm sure Lemmy will be spinning in his grave knowing that there's low alcohol beer in it.
Actually, I've got I'm drinking Guinness. You're not able to see it, but you can see you might be able to see the Queen crest there.
Queen.
Oh,
look at that.
We're so prepared, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. Rock and roll boozers. Well, there you go. Right. Okay. So my pick. So you know what? I might pick a soul record to start off with.
No.
Right. And this is something on Motown. And actually, it's a record that when I say it, you're probably going to think to yourself, I've heard that song too many times. It's a big tune. I've heard it too many times, but I'm telling you now, you haven't. Because that song is War by Edwin Starr. Right? So Edwin Starr, obviously, probably one of the B-list Motown stars. You've got your A-listers like the Supremes and the Four Tops and the Temptations and Marvin and Stevie. Then you've got that next level, haven't you, of Edwin Starr and, I don't know, Martha Reeves and the Marvelettes, that sort of stuff,
Second tier.
Second tier, absolutely, yeah, second tier, So, but this song was originally done. Obviously, it's produced by Norman Whitfield, written by Norman Whitfield and Barrett Strong. Originally done by the Temptations. So what happened was it's on their album Psychedelic Shack, I think it is. And this song, obviously, it's an anti-war song, a protest song. It got played on the radio a little bit, the Temptations version. And Motown kept getting calls for it to be released as a single. But because the Temptations were one of the label's flagship bands, Berry Gordy didn't want them putting out a political record. So Norman Whitfield said, okay, we'll do it with somebody else. And they got Edwin Starr to do it. Now, Edwin Starr's version is 10 times better than the Temptations. Because the reason why this song is so good, obviously you've got you've got the Norman Whitfield production, but it's his voice. His voice is incredible. It's got such power. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And you've got the whole call and response thing all the way through. You've got that marching thing going on, that sort of rhythm. It's absolutely brilliant. And I've been playing this song all week. Absolutely wonderful stuff. I can't think of a better anti-war song, protest song than War by Edwin Starr. An absolute classic.
What was Edwin Starr's big tune? I know he's on Motown Chartbusters Volume 3, which is one of my favourite records ever. There's a big tune by him on that record, but I can't think what it is.
So his big single. So his first hit over here was SOS, Stopper on Sight.
That's it. It's SOS. Yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
his. That's it. So he was one of these. Obviously, he's American, and he ended up coming over here because of the Northern Soul thing. So he lost his audience in the States, but obviously this audience was over here. In the north of England, in the Northern Soul clubs, a little bit like Arthur Conley. Now, Arthur Conley was obviously a black guy, but he was gay. And in the early 70s, he left the States and went to live in Holland, I think so. And he recorded under his own name, not under Arthur Conley, but under his real name, just did advertising jingles and stuff like that, until he was tracked down by the Northern Soul crowd, who got him over to the UK and sort of revitalised his career. And that's what happened with Edwin Starr. He actually used to live about 10 miles away from here, where I live at the moment. So he lived
Fantastic.
he lived in a place called Polesworth. It's just a small town, part of Tamworth. And there's a bit of a story. So obviously lived in Polesworth, and sometime in the 80s, Stevie Wonder was on tour in the UK, right? And he went to stay with his mate Edwin Starr in Polesworth when he played Birmingham, right? So Stevie has gone to bunk up with. He's gone to bunk up with.
You're pitching a sitcom here.
Right. He's gone to bunk up with Edwin. Anyway, so the following day after the gig, they go out for a walk, right? So Stevie and Edwin going out for a walk around Polesworth. This is true, honestly. And basically, so it's not rural, but there's lots of fields, there's animals and stuff like that. So anyway, so they're walking through a field, and Stevie puts his hand out and touches a cow. And it's the first time Stevie Wonder had ever touched a cow. And for a little while, there was a campaign, from the good people of Polesworth. When you drive into a town or a city, it's like as a sign saying "Welcome to." So it says, so they were trying to get a sign up saying "Welcome to Polesworth," where Stevie Wonder first touched a cow.
Did he ever touch one again? That's the question.
I don't know. There you go. So that's Polesworth for you. So
there you go.
And Edwin Starr. Yeah.
I wonder if while he was on the circuit in England, if he was ever mistaken for Freddie Starr. I wonder if there was ever any double bookings.
Well, actually,
or Ringo.
Now, talking about getting confused, I went to see Edwin Collins. He played Birmingham about 15 years ago, and I had 2 tickets, and I took a mate along, and we're sitting there. It was in the Glee Club. It's only a small venue, and Edwin Collins comes out on stage and performs his first song. After which, my mate leans over and says, "Who sang War?" Yeah, so he was a bit disappointed, but it was a good gig all the same.
Well, he is blue-eyed soul, isn't he, Edwin Collins? He's not like a million miles away.
Yeah.
It ain't nothing but a heartbreaker. He's got one friend, that's the Undertaker. And shattered many young men's dreams, made him disabled, bitter and mean. Life is but too short and precious. Fighting war these days. War can't give life, it can only take it away. Oh, war! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Say it again. War. Oh, Lord. What is it good for? Absolutely. Listen to me. War. It ain't nothing but a heartbreaker. War.
Fantastic. Right then, James, what you got next?
I can't follow that, John. I can't follow Stevie Wonder touching a cow for the first time on the outskirts of Birmingham. But let's just go with my second one. So, I forgot to mention with my first choice, what I tried to do with both these picks was just find 2 records which totally nail what my music taste is. It's one of those things where, I like so many different kinds of music, but sometimes you hear a record and you just think that totally just nails what I like. And both these records are roughly from the same period, and they both sort of have the same sound. Now, this is one that you may know from me sharing it constantly on Facebook, because I share it once every 3 weeks when I've had a few drinks, because I just love it so much. So I'll show the LP as well, but it's a B-side again. It's Graham Parker and the Rumour, and it's from 1979, and it's the B-side of his single Protection, and it's his cover version of I Want You Back by the Corporation.
Yeah.
Which is a big hit for the Jacksons, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, when I heard this record, it was on a CD. It was this album, but not the vinyl version. There's a CD version of this album which has it at the end, and I couldn't believe how good it was. Yeah. I just thought, my God, that is fantastic. It sounds really beery and masculine. I don't want to suggest that I like beery masculine music, but I mean, clearly I do. I don't know, because the original obviously is the Jacksons. It has the sort of the falsetto vocals, which is great. I'm a big soul fan as well, but it's something so gutsy about Graham Parker's version. It's got this great funky keyboard again in it, and just a fantastic band performance. And it's one of those great songs I always tell people about that nobody ever seems to know about. I've got a mate called Dave who plays on the circuit here in Lancaster, and his band, they play every possible song by everybody ever, and I sent the link to him, and he was like, fucking hell, I've never heard that before. And I was like, yeah, people don't know about this. It's just one of those B-sides. It's just brilliant. It's fantastic.
You sent the link to me. I think when you first got that the extended edition of the album, I think when you first heard it, you sent me a link, I think via Facebook Messenger or something, saying, have you heard this, John? And I haven't. But it's great. Yeah. You're right. It's perfect pub music,
It is. I've no idea why he buried it so much. I mean, I often find that with artists. I mean, most of my favorite Paul McCartney songs are on obscure B-sides. It's one of those things. It's just, I don't know why they do it. But so if you want to hear it, then you have to buy the CD. Here it is. I knew I'd got the CD somewhere. So it's an extra track on that CD, but it also turns up on this compilation. So if you want to get it on LP vinyl, it's on that album. It's there, it's just at the end of side 1.
Right.
See, it doesn't seem a very economic thing to do a cover version for a B-side. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's like you're going to have to pay for that, and it's a B-side. Because some people, obviously, B-sides are just throwaway tunes a lot of the time anyway.
Yeah, good point. And not really an obscure song either. A very, very famous song, which must have sold, squillions back in the day for the Jacksons. I mean, why on earth you'd stick that on the B-side? You're right. It is a strange thing.
But then that's like the wedding present when they did their top, what were they called? The hit parade singles they did in the year. They did one every month, didn't they? And every song, every 7-inch had one of their tracks on the first side and a cover version on the B side. So they were already doing, they did that as well. So
is that when they did the song off Sergeant Pepper, the Getting Better?
No, because that's from Sergeant Pepper Knew My Father, the NME.
Right.
Tribute album, charity album. Yeah,
but no, that's good. So it's interesting you're saying about it being a B side, because back in the day when you used to buy, you might have enough money to buy a single. If I saw a cover version of a famous tune on the B-side, that would sway me to buy that record over something else. So, so it's it's quite clever from that point of view, isn't it? You feel like you get more value for your money.
It's how the Beatles forged their repertoire, really. In the late 50s, early 60s, they would go hunting for records, but then they would play the B-side because they were trying to find songs that nobody else was doing, on the Liverpool circuit. So, whatever band that they were trying to compete with were playing the A-side, they would flip things over and go, let's try this. So that's where George Harrison got, what was the big song he had in the 80s? Got My Mind Set on You.
Yeah,
was just an obscure B-side on some record that he had as a kid. They're great things, B-sides. I mean, they're the lifeblood of true music fans, aren't they?
Give
So that's hip hop.
So Headley, what you got next?
Okay. So we've gone out of this comfortable kind of old kind of boozer that we're in. We've just gone down the road and we've gone to a slightly more youth-friendly bar, quite swish, very modern. And what they have in there, they have a video jukebox in there. They're playing that there. So I'm saying that because this wasn't technically released as a single, but I found out it was released as a video, which seems to be the new equivalent. I don't know if that's the thing. And this is something slightly more modern. Are we allowed modern? Is that
something for the kids?
Do you mean from 1998?
This is from last year. This is probably my album of the year. This is Bronco by Orville Peck, which I think is a cracking album. Just look at the inners. Look at that, great.
Yeah, I've seen you showing stuff by him on your channel before.
Anyway, the first track, Daytona Sand, is just amazing. It's one of those opening tracks of an album that you put it on and you go, "Oh, listen to that again." I'll listen to that again, and then you realise that that song so well, but the less as you go through the album, But this would be great in a because the reason I mentioned the video is outstanding. It has him being chased by the police on horseback. He's on horseback being chased by the police, and it ends with him surfing on the top of a big lorry. It's brilliant. Anyway, so Orville Peck, I didn't really like his first album was okay. Very sort of I thought a bit of sort of David Lynchian kind of country, very sort of a lot of echo and reverb and very stylish. I mean, it's still stylish, but he's brought far more country into it. And I would say he's got a bit of an Elvis thing going on there. I also think I think I'm the only person I've heard say this, is that there's a definite Scott Walker thing going on in that kind of overly dramatic, over the top kind of theatrical song, and he does many of these, and the Daytona Sand on this is that over the top, and it's got a in fact it might just be it's got a drum line a bit like I think the drum line to Jackie, it's that kind of and it's got that going on in this, and but great, so all the kids are gonna, because apparently he supported I can't remember his name. Who's the young guy that just won the Grammy and everyone's really upset?
Harry Styles, my mate Harry Styles. He toured with Orville Peck as his support, which is a bit weird, but hey, great. Okay. He's a bit. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to like him to begin with, because he wears this mask, which is a bit of an affectation. But I suppose the concept being he's a openly gay country singer, and there's a sort of a slight kind of who am I? Who could I be? He's South African but lives in Canada, so it's a very weird sort of thing. But he sounds like a bit like Elvis or Conway Twitty even. But
cool. How did you come by him, Headley? I
don't know. He was, I mean, obviously his albums have been, they're the sort of things that I know Pitchfork and things like that are always sort of promoting, and I probably read the reviews and things, and as we were saying earlier, that you end up streaming them and listening to them and going, actually that's pretty damn good. And like I said, this was my album of last year. Absolutely great.
I end up streaming 80s Elton John albums, so I've got to get with it.
Yeah, you're not getting value for money there, really, James, are you? For your
no, not at all. No. It'll come to an end, though. There's only a finite number of 80s Elton John albums, and once I've got to the end of them, I can start on Leo Sayer then. So.
Buddy, we got major blues. Another suitcase in your hand. I hope you brought your walking shoes. quite a ways from what I understand. So rack 'em up, big blonde. I think I could have been your man. We watched the surfers as they went on the strand. Daytona Sand.
So my last choice. So when we do these videos, traditionally I always pick something a little bit more chilled out as the last song of the night, because a little bit of lovers rock or a little bit of soul. But this time I'm going for a bit of punk just to mix it up a little bit. So I'm going for the Stranglers.
Oh, top.
And Walk On By. Now the Stranglers, I think they were the best punk singles band, So I know the likes of the Clash, I think they had better albums, but for the run of singles that they had in the late 70s, I don't think they can be touched. And also as well, the likes of the Clash, I do love the Clash, but they're a little bit try hard, you know what I mean? Stenciling the clothes, writing on the, that sort of stuff. These guys just look like just come out the pub. I suppose they've got that little bit of pub rock in them as well. They're a little bit older, but they were just cool just because they look pretty hard. They didn't need to write on their own clothes and stuff, or wear dye the hair funny colours, or wear safety. They weren't pantomime punks, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. And I think this version of Walk On By is absolutely fantastic. So obviously the original, Burt Bacharach, Hal David, the original by Dionne Warwick. It's a beautiful, sweet vocal performance, but Hugh Cornwell, he snarls all the way through it. It's a great vocal. The J.J. Burnell's bass sound, he just growls at you. It's the best bass sound ever on any record. It's just a great sound. And I think it's fantastic. But so this time coming out the Vinyl Community Pub, there might be a bit of aggro. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You've got to be a bit so Vinyl Community members having a go at each other. So yeah.
The Stranglers were always a big jukebox band for me back in my college days, but it was Golden Brown I always used to put on. It was a great afternoon record. I used to walk into these, what are they called, JCRs, on campus, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, student life. I'll just pop in for a couple of pints on my way to my lecture kind of thing, And there was something about Golden Brown. You could put it on 1 o'clock in the afternoon, sit there, drink a pint. It's totally out of character with, most of the rest of their catalogue. It's this weird kind of, is it a waltz? Is it in waltz time? Or it's got a strange time signature.
Time signature, I think.
And it's got this sort of harpsichord.
Well, isn't it in 5/4? Is it like
Dave Brubeck, maybe.
Dave Brubeck.
I think they had to slow down. They had to slow down their sound, because I think they were getting so much aggro at the gigs. So I think when they got to the early 80s, they purposely slowed down. Golden Brown's a perfect example. That Strange Little Girl, European Female. It's a totally different sound. Great songs, but they haven't got that punk edge to them anymore. There's a lot more keyboard on it and stuff. But
no, when I saw them, they weren't very punk. I saw them in the 90s when I think, was it Only the Sun was there? They had a hit with
Always the Sun.
Always the Sun. There's always the Sun.
80s as well, but no, this
80s, wasn't it?
So this single you can never put on a jukebox because it plays at 33. So that knackers it straight away, doesn't it? But it's like Love Will Tear Us Apart by Joy Division. One side plays at 33, the other at 45. That knackers you as well, doesn't it? So there you go.
Losing you, so